Imagine the rock of your life,
We have all the
the one who always stood
participants
strong, supporting and cheering you on,
have
was suddenly unable to be a
audience member. Singular. Well, if you count me.
was suddenly unable to be that pillar of strength.
All right, I say we get going. I think this is going to be great. Welcome everybody to
My
the nonprofit
grandmother
track.
was that
This is my
superhero
first
to
time
me,
actually being in the
battling her diabetes till she couldn't anymore.
nonprofit track, so this is great.
Reflecting on her meticulous care,
Here's
I
some
can't help but to wonder,
phenomenal
where would she
pitches.
be if her
Couple
diabetes
reminders on just the
would have
format,
been better managed?
presenters and
As I
judges.
started this journey with Naturally
There's 30
Bare,
minutes for each
I am dedicated
presentation.
to
That
promoting
includes all the
how
questions.
important
There's no reason
foot
you
care
have to take
is
all 30
to those
minutes,
who are
but
managing
we'll
diabetes.
cut you off at
It
30
is
minutes. I
tribute.
think there should be plenty of time.
It is truly
So,
a
I
tribute
have the
to my
timer over
grandmother
here.
and all those who are dealing with
I'll
this
come
same
check it,
struggle.
maybe we're in around 5 minutes just to make sure we get.
Hi, my name is Shayna Boyd, a certified
Judges,
master
feel free,
pedicurist
as you're going
specializing
along,
in
we'll give you a few
preventative
minutes in
foot
between
care
each pitch
for
to
those who are
make
managing
some notes, but if
diabetes.
you do have some
You might be
feedback,
wondering,
feel free
what
to just
is a
write those
certified
on the
master
score
pedicurist?
sheets unless it's
A certified master pedicurist falls in between a nail technician and a foot doctor, also known as a
you have time to give
podiatrist.
that feedback.
So when you think of a pedicure, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Be sure.
Let me guess, your feet in your own
Any
personal
questions
jacuzzi,
or
right?
concerns? Are y'all excited?
Will I surprise you if I
I'm really
tell you
excited. I think this is going to be
a
fantastic.
pedicure
I'm also
without
excited that
water?
There's only 3.
At Naturally Bare, our waterless
We're gonna be
pedicure
really, really
experience,
quick here. I'm going to turn it over to our first presenter, Candace. Caroline. Maybe that's why.
our value
All right,
proposition
Caroline, thank you.
lies in the ability
this
to
works.
provide
Good to go.
preventive care for those who are
There you
suffering
go.
with
I'll start the
diabetes.
timer when you
So what does
start
that look
talking.
like? Preventive care for
get going.
diabetes will reduce medical costs, will reduce hospital visits and doctor visits. I would like you to know we are highly trained in providing preventive care to redress calluses, thickened toenails, and ulcers. So what services do we offer? We offer 3-level care that is based off the needs of the customer. The prices range from $60 to $120. We have a toenail restoration, which is a technique that's used for an artificial toenail. So those who have damaged toenails, it will make an appearance of an actual nail. And that price range from $50 to $100. And we also offer home care products, which is
Yep. All right. Why don't we clap Caroline in since we got all the
Perfect. So first of all, I invite you all to scan the QR code. I know most of us all have our phones. If you're interested in checking out the virtual website of Girls Can, you can view it here or on your computer, so you're understanding what I'm referencing. And then we'll start off with the creation of Girls Can. So in high school, like many, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with my life. And I saw a lot of nurses in my life. And so I decided I'm going to go into nursing. I thought it was that easy. But turns out I don't like blood, germs, or sickness, so that did not go well for me, and I dropped out. And that really impacted me. It made me feel lost and defeated, and I worried about going into student loan debt because you automatically have to repay that, until I was lucky enough to find a mentor. I realized that many people don't have the opportunity to find a mentor, but I had a mentorship through an internship that I had, and she changed my career trajectory and quite honestly changed my life. But what was impactful about that mentor is I saw myself in her. I was able to relate to her. She was young, relatable, and that changed my life and my career trajectory. However, I realized that I wasn't the only one. A lot of individuals never have the opportunity to have mentorship. And so what I wanted to do is take out some of those barriers, and so making a virtual mentorship platform that we're able to connect women all over the United States to different kinds of opportunities so that young women are able to have mentorship and explore a variety of career paths. So we have over 200 mentors online in this all-free program that's accessible and is able to connect them, taking out one of the biggest issues with mentorship is having it in person. We take that barrier out and it's virtual. So I'm not the only one. These are just some of the statistics. We are 1.75 trillion in student loan debt. And why that matters is when you drop out of school, you automatically have that student loan debt repayment. And the issue with that is that really impacts your whole life and your career trajectory, and then you can sometimes never find your purpose and passion because you are stuck in that cycle of having to repay that student loan debt. And so we have a 40 to 50% dropout rate for undergraduates, and it's actually even higher here in Dayton. And that means immediate debt for loan or grant recipients. And so then it's 10 to 30 years to pay off that payment on average. So obviously the financial strain, delayed milestones, psychological stress, and the biggest thing is the career choices. If people are able to find their purpose and passion in life, that boosts their psychological state and makes them be able to have a more impact in the world. And many times individuals have purpose and passions, but they're not actually able to pursue that because of this grappling student loan debt. So only 25% of college students report having mentorship, and mentees often seek mentors with similar experiences. So that's why it's really important when you have mentorship to be able to select the mentor. Many traditional mentorship programs automatically pair the mentee and the mentor, but instead, students want to be able to pick the mentor that they want. And this platform allows them to choose multiple mentors and be able to learn about a variety of career paths. Another issue is sometimes the cost barrier associated or having in-person mentorship. Many college students are busy and they simply don't have the time to be able to have the mentor. And so this offers more options to be able to have that mentor. So you're able to connect anywhere in the United States. We have over 200 mentors in 45 different states, and we're exploring opportunities to monetize by establishing chapters with colleges and companies. So we're virtual, stress-free, and accessible. So here's a little bit of an explanation. So we have categories, so education, if someone's interested in education, or STEM, or science, that's how we're spread out. And then some of our proof of performance for our virtual environment is we visited 11 schools. We have 200 plus successful mentorship pairs. We have 200 mentors in 45 states and 1 internationally. We have reached all 50 states and 7 continents, 30,000 young women reached. We have 11,000 followers on social media. We have an AI chatbot, which is new, to be able to help you find the best mentor based on your resume that you input. And we have 1,200 plus monthly website visitors. So we know that this is making an impact and we are directly working with students. This is an example. You can just directly click on the link and directly email a mentor from there. So monetization strategy is something that we unfortunately have to figure out with nonprofits. And that's expanding to colleges and universities, fostering the connections and making sure that colleges are able to have this Girls Can program in their school. So working with alumni and current students to be able to guide the freshmen through their 4 years, it helps the college because they're going to have more retention and ultimately make more money, but it also helps the students working with an alumni to guide them through those 4 years and ultimately keep them in school. So we're going to collaborate with implementing this mentorship program with colleges and universities, and also working that in corporate companies. So an individual like me who's new at a corporate company, I want to be able to be mentored by a senior, a manager. And so me being a new employee, I will be able to select the mentorship from a page just like Girls Can, which was implemented directly in the company. So as a woman in tech and a woman in business, those are businesses and opportunities that we can have within each company because we have women in tech programs, women in business programs in most corporate companies. Further, why this is important right here, right now, is Dayton has only 12% of high school Dayton city schools are at or above level for math. That's an alarming number. Dayton is second last in the state for the 4-year graduation rate, and 44% of children are also below the poverty line in this area. Mentorship, hopefully, we will be able to have a partner with Dayton City Schools and mentors from Girls Can and the University of Dayton to help close the gap on these statistics. So having an actual physical location and going into the schools as our first location here with Girls Can. So here's just some of the stats here. The college graduation rate here is 16%. The high school graduation rate is 80%. And test scores at Dayton, the high school college readiness is 39%, which is definitely low. And then we're in the 14% for mathematics and 21% for reading here in Dayton. So, white labeling Girls Can is how we can monetize with a program that I've implemented called CAP. So this is what we can sell as a white label with our analytics, our AI, and being able to build the site for corporate companies and be able to also build it for colleges and universities so that they can see their alumni network and the students can be partnered with them with the same program as Girls Can, but being able to be monetized and sold to companies and colleges and universities. So we've actually started this already with the University of Cincinnati, and we have successes, and then we've also done it with one local high school in Cincinnati. And these have been beneficial because we've had the alumni be able to be partnered with current students, help them not drop out, and help students be able to explore from our alumni network. So many universities want to be able to have alumni help and support, and alumni want to be able to support their alma mater. But this program allows them to do just that, and we are able to be paid for that. So we've done that specifically with the UC Athletic Department. And so why this matters and why we know this works is 87% of alumni would like to see improved engagement for their university. Alumni want to be able to go back and help their school. And 50% reported that they would be more engaged with their alma mater if they could offer mentorship to current students. So we know this is needed and wanted, and we know that alumni want to be able to do this. So our model involves a tiered installation rate with recurring service fees, and the profit of this also helps support the nonprofit of Girls Can. So this is also a way to fund Girls Can. So here is a part of our analytics for our AI on our website. So you're able to put the resume attached, and then it tells you exactly, based on your resume, what mentor you would be most paired with. So that's just an example. I have an individual who is now on my team who is an expert in AI. Unfortunately, that is not me, but he is very smart. He has his master's in AI, and he also has his master's in computer engineering. So he has graciously joined our team, and he has helped with all of this, and that is a part of what we white label and sell. So our AI model is the purpose to find the perfect alumni or mentor based on the resume. Now, we still allow them to look through the resumes. However, some individuals do want to just be automatically partnered. And so with larger corporations, if there's 500 mentors on the site and it's a little stressful to go through, then we'll automatically use the AI to insert your resume and be able to find the mentor. So being able to do the right pairing the first time, and then also we're working on an AI platform where you're able to directly have your resume sent, and then the software actually asks you questions based on your resume and records you, such as an interview going back and forth, to be able to have more preparation for interviewing skills and questions that your actual employer might ask you when you're applying for jobs, to also help students. So what we need is, in 2024, we're being very intentional on allocating money for our capital campaign and fully integrating and selling these products to universities. And that's a way to be able to have the funding for Girls Can. And we began our pilot location at the University of Cincinnati, and we're hoping to start with Dayton as the first high school and Dayton as the second university. So we also know that mentorship early on matters, and so we implemented a high school program as well this year to have high schoolers also on the site to mentor elementary schoolers and more middle schoolers. And the reason for this is we do have it locked and password protected to maintain underage students and making sure that their parents agree and such. But mentorship matters early on to make sure that students in Dayton just get their high school diploma. And that's extremely impactful. So we have developments in the work for making sure that we reach middle schoolers as well to help increase the importance and understanding of what mentorship is at an earlier age. So, like we said, we implemented the high school mentorship program. So this year we actually gave out scholarships as well. So we had the students apply for scholarships, and we were able to hand that out this year. And so we're hoping to include a $5,000 scholarship and 5 $1,000 scholarships this year, and make sure that we're intentional on the areas of the students that have mentorship. So we gave 2 $1,000 scholarships this year, and we also want to make sure that we have all the chat logs recorded on the site to better develop our analytics. And we want to have market research on the best mentor training programs. That's something I really want to develop too, is a mentorship training program. And that's something we're trying to work with Flyer Consulting on this year, is performing better market research to make sure that we have a better training program, but also be able to have training program hopefully for corporations in the future and colleges and universities. That's also a way to monetize. So we are hoping to kind of explain a little bit more on directly funds that we can allocate money. So with $1,000, we'll develop these platforms for University of Dayton and Dayton Public Schools. And now this is obviously at a discounted rate, but because this is needed in this area and all the support for this community. Following this, we want to make sure that we have HubSpot and Google Analytics for a better tracking system, and implementing that for mentorship training programs. We'll designate $1,000 for marketing. $5,000 will be allocated towards integration of the chatbot for each of the sites. And then, so we're already using this model and technology. It works, however, for some of the more integrated and virtual video AI chatbots is what the money is for. And then the rest is allocated for employees, building out a better mentorship training program, and more robust scholarships this year. So we gave away our scholarships this year, and the next round will be in spring of 2024. And so here are some examples of our scholarship winners, and just some of the quotes they said. So she was able to be exposed to a sports psychologist, something she didn't know about before, and so that was a great pairing. She was out of state, she was in state, and she actually now, with her mentor, she was able to decide that where she wanted to go to college. So now she's knowing that she is attending Ohio State, and just some of the hardship that happens. And sometimes all it is I say mentorship is great for anything. I think that it can be directly about your career, but it can also be about what choice you might want to go, where you want to go to college, what kinds of skills you need for college. So this kind of shows a little bit of diversity in our scholarship winners. So we hope to expand this initiative with alumni portals at university, women's programs in companies, and with other business opportunities in corporate companies. And then obviously we hope to have a more in-depth, comprehensive mentorship training program. But with that, I do want to do a little bit more research on the current mentorship training programs that are out there. I have done some research. However, I do think that there is a lot of work that needs to be done on mentorship training, because really when building my mentor training program for mentors, I realized that there's not a lot of conversation about really what makes a good mentor. And I believe that being a good mentor is a good listener. However, how do you necessarily teach that? So I hope to be able to create a more robust profile and portal of mentorship training programs, and hopefully, if that works out over time, be able to actually teach that and train that in universities and for businesses. So here's just some of the mentorship stats. So a lot of people, 76% of people think mentors are important. Only 37% of people have them. 79% of millennials see mentoring as crucial to their career success. However, we also see by those numbers that many of them don't have it. And millennials will be more than 75% of the workforce by 2025. So we know these numbers matter and that mentorship matters. And so a leading reason for millennials wanting to quit are not enough opportunities to advance and lack of learning and development opportunities. So we know that mentorship is needed in corporations, in colleges and universities, and this really does matter. And there's just some more mentoring statistics. However, I know that you can see that in the paperwork. But 9 in 10 workers who have a mentor report being happy in their job. So I think these are all statistics that show that mentorship really does matter, and Girls Can have a large impact on a corporation. Okay, and here's some examples of successful mentorship pairs. So obviously you can see that was a scholarship winner with Shelby, and she ultimately changed her career and decided to stay in school because she figured out that she wanted to also do sports psychology. And my mentee and I's relationship, she actually was able to create a middle school mentorship program at her school because she is in Cincinnati Public and they don't have a program. And her being inspired from me, having a mentorship program and talking about how much that impacted me, she not only wanted to do that, but she realized that they didn't have an opportunity, so she decided to make a mentorship program in her school. And what's interesting about this situation with my mentee is I didn't mentor her on life or college or anything, but instead I started the mentorship because I love singing and I'm passionate about singing. And she loves singing as well. So I said, you know, we can talk about opportunities to be able to sing because she doesn't have the funds or the financial situation in her family to be able to do singing lessons. So I just provided her with some opportunities and shared advice. But through that mentorship and me understanding and teaching her what I was doing to help her, she decided that she wanted to help other little girls as well. And so she started a program in Cincinnati Public. Okay, so here's the team. This is me. I am the founder of Girls Can, and we have a lot of other people who are helping us as well. We are all have our masters, or some people have multiple masters. I'm finishing my MBA, so I guess I'm the least qualified here. But Afton has her master's in education, so she is the director of programming here. Shinden has his master's in engineering and master's in AI. He is a genius, and he is our AI engineering manager. Grishma has her IT master's, and she's our IT manager, and then Nick is the finance manager. And so just thank you for listening. Thank you for caring about women and girls and the opportunities that we have in our future. And again, this is the QR code to the site, and I guess it's question time. Okay.
I usually like to let Shannon go first because she always sounds so intelligent.
Oh, God, I am intelligent, not that I sound
Well, that
intelligent.
too.
Okay.
Why are you a nonprofit?
Why am I a nonprofit? That is a good question, and hopefully I will also be able to monetize the nonprofit with this white labeling product, but it started as a passion project, and I really do want to keep this opportunity free for students, and that's why I decided to start it as a nonprofit. And I do think it is a good nonprofit because we are able to get funding from schools for the actual Girls Can aspect and get into middle schools, get into elementary schools because of the funding we're able to receive possibly from the government for going into schools. Now, I do understand that with going into corporations and universities, we could sell this product, but I didn't start it because I wanted to make it something that I was able to monetize. Quite honestly, I've learned a lot in this process and through my MBA to realize that I could possibly monetize it in the future, and that's why I decided to do the CAP white labeling program and then be able to use some of its profits to help fund the nonprofit charitable aspect.
Should you be thinking about it in terms of monetizing, or is it really about spreading the mentorship opportunity? I mean, universities, what a huge big idea to get alumni engaged, and same with corporations. I don't know what the landscape for competitive mentorship software is out there, but I mean, it seems to me that mentorship works across the board, and the ability to sell the software without having to go after grants and all that money, you probably could fund this. I mean, I shouldn't be so declarative, but it just seems that you've got an incredible technology team. You're really in the technology business, but you're trying to be evangelists for mentorship. And the Girls Can part is your passion piece of it. Not that you're against boys getting mentorship, but that sort of becomes the other side of it. Anyway, that's just my, how did I sound, Shannon? I sound intelligent like you.
And I really do agree with you. I did not have the whole team behind me in support of really developing this at the beginning. And quite honestly, it is something that I did realize through my mentors that this is something that I'm able to monetize a little bit more. But I started this not really thinking necessarily.
Don't call it monetization. I mean, it's just, I don't think it's good because you have the opportunity to grow mentorship all around the country through colleges and universities and the corporate sector. I mean, that's really what and then you can have your personal sidebar project that you're doing the girls piece for the general public. Again, I'm not here to tell you how to run your business. I'm just here to judge the competition.
No, I appreciate that.
I had similar questions and thoughts. Oh, go ahead. No. I had similar thoughts and questions along that lines, because it does sound like two different buckets. There's the mentorship program, but then there's also this incredible platform that universities and corporations and even schools could get funded to run their own mentorship programs. And so I was wondering, maybe you touched on it and I missed it, but do you have stats on the success rate of your actual mentorship program? Because that seems like the nonprofit component of this.
Yes, so the nonprofit component, we have 200 successful mentorship pairs just with Girls Can. So I only implemented this program of Girls Can for the University of Cincinnati branch as of recently, and that was through just honestly doing the research for this and realizing that I do want it to grow and become chapters and different programs. But our current Girls Can model, all of these stats and information are based on Girls Can and that website, not any of the other sites or locations.
Got you. At the end, you showed stats on the importance of mentorship and the impact that mentorship as a whole has.
Yes.
Do you have similar stats for your program, like related to retention or graduation that you've had so far?
I do not, because the program hasn't been in existence that long. So I made it a nonprofit I established it as a nonprofit 9 months ago. So I don't have the full year to date data yet, but that is something that hopefully I've been talking to the Flyer Consulting Group to hopefully join their team next year and have them be able to help with some of the analytics aspects and just the growing of understanding and what I've been able to help with for actual mentorship numbers.
Oh, go ahead. You're talking about transferring or bringing the program into Dayton. And so I have two questions related to that. The first is, how many women of color are part of your mentorship network right now?
A good amount. I have really tried to establish, I don't have the statistics on that necessarily, but if you look at the website and you go through the mentors, we have a lot of diversity, and that's something that is incredibly important to me. That's who my community is, who my friends are, and what my network is as well, and so I have been very intentional on that.
Okay. So I just have a suggestion. Just make sure that you're tracking like mentorship, like what career path they're from, demographic background, as part of your, maybe even the application process or the AI configuration. So that you have those stats kind of right away and you can share that information. Because when you try to partner with Dayton Public Schools, they're going to ask you those questions.
Correct,
Because the majority of those students they're going to be girls of color that you're working with. So they're going to want to know who's going to be doing that mentorship.
Yeah.
So that's my other question related to that, is that Dayton Public Schools already has mentorship programs connected to the city. So are there any plans to collaborate with those programs?
I would say definitely reaching out to them as an opportunity to be able to have a virtual component too for students who maybe don't have the ability to stay after school, or opportunities such as that, who maybe want to see mentorship outside of their community, or individuals who do live far away, or for individuals who are news reporters. And we have news reporters of color on our website, and different opportunities. Women of color who are in medical school, and so maybe an opportunity if there's not a current mentor in the school program with that, just possibly different careers. The other thing about Girls Can is I do try to have women who are recent graduates, so a little bit younger, and being able to have the women be able to go, or the young girls be able to go through the site to be able to directly pick the mentor that they want to relate to. So I think that's maybe a helpful aspect that's a little different.
One more question or comment?
I think kind of going back to the question that you mentioned earlier, I know you gave stats on successful partnerships, which I think kind of just is more we have partnerships. How are you defining that success, or how are you measuring success of pairings, not just we've met two people together, that's how we're defining it?
Every time they have a mentorship call, we have a portal that now I want to get it on Salesforce or something that's a little bit more direct CRM, but we do have a current document that they have to track every time that they have a mentorship meeting. However, that is something I do want to work on, is those specific metrics of what we define as success.
Do you have time for one more?
1 minute.
Can you talk a little, so it seems like the premise is college students, and then your opportunity, at least as a nonprofit for growth, is higher ed companies would probably want. So you're making an alumni connection, you're making a company connection. Can you explain a little bit more about high school fits in? And it seems like your UC example is college with high school, but not the thing you would sell companies or higher ed, as in alumni with college. So
So that's a little bit more of the nonprofit side of the girls who are directly just in this program, and this is just strictly through Girls Can. If there's high schooler or underage students, that's not something I want to be able to sell or monetize off of just because of legal aspects. So those are individuals who want to be able to volunteer and teach and help for high school students, teach middle schoolers, and then for college students be able to mentor high schoolers.
But so the premise that you'd sell companies or higher ed is not really quite in action as far as explicitly having alumni talk to current college students, as your example of, I'm not sure where I want to go, I'm questioning my path, I'm a college student, I'm going to have student debt. So much as your example now is what you just talked about. If you were selling it to your target, which is corporations and higher ed.
Correct. That would be current students who are already in the school. So it would be like current UC students with alumni.
That's my timer.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Maybe we can get a little farm animal. Let's give a big round of applause to Caroline. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's give, how about just like a 2-minute break? Judges, get your notes in, get your scores in. Everybody back in 2 minutes, and we'll get DJ set up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Take these. Who's next? DJ. DJ. You can slide this in your pocket if you'd like. And I'm going to attach this to your lapel. Okay. Yeah. Just like that. Okay. Sounds good. Make sure DJ is switched on.
Oh. Oh, it is on, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you in so tight here.
That's all right.
I had set up 2 tables, and I was like, yeah, I think there's like 5 judges. And then saw that there were 7. How have you been? Good? Did you have a chance to connect with Joshua much? Good. He's pretty good, right? Yeah. He's just such a nice guy. Yeah, like super back in DJing, and welcome back, DJ, and everyone looking forward to your.
Studying abroad. It's an exciting experience for anyone embarking on this adventure. For parents, it's a proud feeling that their kids are pursuing enriching opportunities that they themselves as parents couldn't because of the circumstances they were raised in. Of course, it's different if you belong to one of the richest families in the world. But what happens when, as a student, you try your best, you work hard, you attend job search workshops, but still face a daunting wall of rejections from internships or jobs? You start doubting yourself. Am I not good enough? You lose your self-esteem. What's wrong with me? And you take up all this unnecessary stress alone. It takes a toll on your mental health, and a once rock star is now crushed. Nobody has to go through all of this alone. What helps in tough times is empathy and a community that serves as a support system that has been through the tough times and says, hey, we've been through these tough times and it gets better. Trust us. Let's all together help you get through this and guide you on what you should do next. And that's what our aim at 2 Feet is, building the #1 international student-friendly community, career community. So what do we have in store today? So we have the problems that international students face, the solution, the size of our market, why we're better than our competitors, our vision, what resources are we utilizing to save costs, the guests we have lined up for podcast, which plays into our strategy, which you'll know eventually, the subscription tiers, what does it look like for the student, the financials, and a final wrap towards the end. So what really is the problem? So international students firstly face culture adjustment difficulties. So in the US, you have an individualist culture where strangers with expertise are respected and you can easily go and talk to them. But in countries where there's a collectivist culture, we tend to rely on family members or near and dears. Same goes with risk-taking abilities. In the US, you're bullish about the future. You're willing to take risks. But sometimes in other countries, you're risk-averse. Sometimes our roots limit us from adapting. All we need is a little nudge, a push, or a motivation to kind of move forward. Secondly, imposter syndrome, where despite you try everything in the book, and you are probably good from an external perspective, there is still something that you feel that you're not good enough, and you have to get that in order to be attractive to an employer. This leads to exhaustion, and again, takes a toll on your mental health. Now, coming to navigational issues in terms of visa rules or restrictions. When is a good time to apply for work authorization? How early, late, what rules apply? And the American job market. What is a resume? Back in my country, we have curriculum vitae or CV. I don't know what a resume is. What is FIT? What is networking? What are career fairs? So what's our solution to all of this? Hold your hand courses. Now, what does that mean? So essentially, the meaning here is two-pronged. The first prong is that we have a community that shares their experiences with each section of the course. So feedback and sharing experiences are ingrained into the way the courses are taken. So the first prong is that, yes, so there's a question that comes during the course that segues into sharing your experience. And the student can also read other people's experiences, let's say on networking. How was their first time? What did they talk about? And how that went through. And the second prong is that at the end of the whole course, you do a reflection. What have you learned from this course? What have you gained? How are you going to apply? What is your takeaway? And with this are your typical assignments and to kind of test your knowledge and what you've learned. So these courses would be based on networking, conversational and rapport building skills, industry relevant skills. We also offer one-on-one coaching, and that comes later on in the subscription tiers that I'll show you eventually. Community through forums. So the forum is accessible to everyone. Everyone gets to access the forum and kind of post their experiences or any questions that they have. The internship offering. So essentially what we do here is we have our own locally built network of SMEs, and we act as a broker between them and students. And this offering is again available based on your subscription level. So is it a community? So our size of market, right? So totally as of 2022, there are around 1.06 million students, international students in the US. And our serviceable, achievable market is around 0.76 million. Now this number comes from the fact that on the East and West Coast, where there are the most popular universities, they have comparatively better infrastructure, but in the middle, there's a lot of untapped potential that we can kind of attack. So why we're better than our competitors? So firstly, we're building a career community where we're offering an umbrella in the rain of options. Now, the rain of options in the sense there's always a lot of options around us. What certifications to pursue, what is the best course to have, what's the skill to pursue. Now, I want to curate all that, and I want to cater it to international students. You will have everything in one place, and we're purely customer focused, where the curation of the package is based on the data, based on the professionals in the field. And customer focused is in the sense that how the current students are feeling with the particular course and how their learning is, how are they growing as people, and how are they growing in terms of their position in the market. Coming to informed consent of payment terms and accountability together. So while most of our competitors do not really display their payment terms, one competitor has. And I won't put a label on this, but I'll let you be the judges. So the payment terms are like this. Hey, we're going to give you this coaching. We're going to fix your resume. We're going to give you probably the courses and coaching that you need, and you don't have to pay anything upfront. It's completely free upfront, but when you do secure a job, you have to pay a double-digit percentage of your monthly income until you hit a cap. Now what's this cap? It's a 5-figure number. Now, initially, as you sign up, they make you sign a contract, and if the product turns out, the course's quality turns out to be subpar, you're trapped into that system. So that's why I'd like 2 feet, to have a straightforward subscription, affordable pricing, and not offering any type of pyramid scheme because we are customer focused. And we also will focus on commitment to quality and innovation, which is we would regularly refine our courses based on the progress of the trends around us and also how the students who are taking this particular course are feeling. And they would probably share it through feedback, the community, and whatnot. Now, all these points that you see are also based on UD's values. UD's values since I've come here, they've grown me as a person. And this venture of mine embodies all of those values, which is excellence, innovation, service, engagement, and community. So what's our vision and what's our roadmap? There's a full-fledged roadmap in the business plan with you, but here is our initial focus. So first, we would want to launch our podcast or Vodcast. Vodcast is video podcast. And we would use the podcast studio at Rush Library to avoid setup costs. So the cost we would pay for is the video editor. Simultaneously, we would also start website development, where we would outsource this website development. So we would be supervising the way it's developed. And our initial goal is to develop an online forum where people can start coming and talking about things. And final goal would be to kind of have a full-fledged website with access to courses and other functionalities. While the podcast has already begun its operations, we would also start with social media circulating all these clips, and we would also focus on targeted advertising. So in this particular process, we're growing our user base, and we're also improving a potential customer base. We roll out our forum, and then we also begin our courses where we team up with professionals in the working field, and we establish an agreement. We develop courses. Our goal is to develop 10 courses, and a specialized skill course goal is 2. And in month 3, we also start developing partnerships. After that, when we have all this done, we go for the launch. We ensure smooth onboarding, and we make sure that we gauge reactions, what the people feel, and how we can improve their experience. And we will take an analytical approach throughout all of this. So what resources are we utilizing to save costs? Again, so here we're using the podcast studio at Rush Library, no cost. So we're saving setup costs here. The only cost that would come here would be a video editor. In terms of courses creation, depending on the location of the creator. So if the creator is local to the Dayton area, we would use the Story Studio at Rush Library, again at no cost. Here, there would be the video editor cost. And other methods would be based on research and need-to-need basis. So the guests we have lined up. So we have a wide variety of guests lined up. We have a range of C-suite executives to senior level executives. And so all these folks listed here are actually, they have been through this international student life, and now all of these guys are superheroes in their fields that they've reached. So bringing all these people on, now some of these people are also in the hiring manager level. So they would probably give insights into, okay, what the international students should do better, or what can they do to become, what they look for when hiring. What does it look like for the student? So these are the 3 packages that we have. So basic package priced at $19.99, and access to courses and resources. Standard package, everything in basic, access to internship offering portal, bi-weekly checkpoint. So what this checkpoint essentially means is during the internship, we will check in with the particular student as to how they're doing, what are they learning, what are the skills they're gaining, and how does it relate to their major that they're taking? And has it put them in a better position compared to what they were earlier? The premium package is everything in standard. First access to internship leads. Whenever we source a new set of leads, these guys, the premium holders, would get first access. And then also coaching calls on profile assessment and positioning. Profile assessment is essentially what roles would you be really good for, right? Assessing your experiences and your skills that you've gained, and saying, okay, what roles would you be good for? And also positioning, which is how best to really position yourself in front of recruiters based on, let's say you're approaching a software engineer recruiter. How would you position yourself? This is what it would look like for the student. So the premium package, as you can see, is priced at $15.9, but initially for market penetration, we will price it at $49.99, and then we will take it from there. So here's our financials and a couple of caveats before our financials. So the way this is crafted is this is based on the podcast. So the podcast views, the 1 million impressions, has a conversion rate, as per Spotify, has a conversion rate of 1.33%. So through the podcast, obviously, our goal is to approach every international student, to reach every international student. But the way, if you look at our roadmap, you'll see that we also intend, down the line, we intend to do a partnership with universities. So the way we would start that is once we reach a certain goal of how many paying customers we have, we would then start with Ohio and then kind of expand slowly to other cities. So that's the way it would go. But initially, once we reach that goal, once we hit that goal of paying customers, we move to partnership with universities. But initially, this is our plan. So currently, as of 2022, we have 1 million students. These, according to Spotify, the conversion rate is 1.33% from podcast to visitors. So based on that, you have the orders, 14,000. Course duration is roughly 2 months. average course duration across all platforms. So the platforms that I took for comparison here are Pluralsight, Udemy, Coursera, and Udacity. So the average course cost is around $39 per month. That brings our basket size to 78, which brings our total revenue around 1.1 million. Now COGS, which is cost of goods sold per order. This is $10. So basically out of every subscription or out of every paying customer, we would give $10 to, this $10 goes to the creator's pocket. And these are just our initial thoughts, but we were thinking to kind of cap it per month around $2,000. But again, this depends all on the negotiation part and all that when it comes down to all that. So total COGS would be $140,000. That brings our gross margin to $956,000. Now, if you look at direct marketing and total costs, these are arbitrary values that I've taken just to simulate a worst case scenario analysis and see, okay, if I just take really huge values, what do we get to? So that brings our EBITDA down to $156,000 and bringing our EBIT margin of 14%. So finally, we are somewhat towards the end. I think I've emphasized feedback so much in my presentation that it would only make sense that I would go through the feedback that you judges have given me. So one of the feedback was that it would be best if I could show somebody who's lived through that experience, right? So Hamad, you yeah. You were a former international student once. What were the difficulties you faced, and would you be willing to share? And if 2 feet was there at that time, would 2 feet would have helped you?
Yeah, no, I think I was an international student 25 years ago, so it's been a while. A lot has changed.
Right.
But I think every challenge that you mentioned is very valid. Cultural cognizance is very important. So knowing where you're coming from and what those differences were. Me coming from Pakistan, it's a very different culture.
Right.
And assimilating or acclimating myself to the American way of life, the way people talk here, the way people think here, terminologies are all very important. But to your point, the professional side, somebody needed to light the way. It's very lonely when you're here by yourself, when the culture is alien to you, when world events and forces tend to kind of also act against assimilation. So I think a one-stop shop from a perspective of an international student is a very useful and very powerful forum.
Yeah. Thank you so much for a round of applause for Hamad. Yes, thank you so much. So, I think, Hamad is like one person who has kind of persevered through all the issues that we face, and now he's at such a stage where he's able to help out on a large scale, right? And just like, how he stood here, join me in helping all the international students in making them stand on their own 2 feet. Thank you for listening. I invite any questions that you might have.
I'm going to start because I have a financial focus one. Can you walk me through the assumptions you're making without any marketing expenses that your podcast is going to have, its impact it's going to have, that's going to reach 1.09 million that year, and then you're making a kind of that we might pull $400,000 out for marketing to grow, with your goal being I need to get 100 clients so I can then at that point start talking to universities who are ultimately going to be my market. What is give me that line that gets you there, either year 1, year 2, year 3, whatever. But I'm struggling that if, I want to know, do you have podcasting experience? Do you have marketing experience? Do you have a pipeline into the community that's going to ultimately be using this? You can say, this is going to be the thing that gets us there to that financial assumption.
Okay. So in terms of podcasting experience, I do not have that, right? I intend to start it. And I intend to take a shot at it. and I will make sure that, so again, that depends on our contingency plan as well. So if I don't reach 1,000 subscribers by month 1 or 2, or if I don't have 100 paying customers, I start doing a roadshow, right? So where I go to universities and I host workshops educating the masses about our offerings, and I also advertise my podcast there. And also at the side, I'll also be doing influencer marketing, where there are all these people who have come, like all these international students who are currently influencers, they've become, and also there are some work visa-based individuals who have become influencers. So reaching out to them, partnering with them, would also increase my reach here. So with that way, I intend to kind of grow the podcast space. I'm sorry, did this?
Okay, thank you.
I have a very similar question. You may not be able to answer, but it was immediately as I was thinking about podcasts and subscription, which I actually really do like the subscription model. But as a person who will not pay for a podcast, I look for everything possible free to listen to. I don't know, and you may know, what is the customer base of students that would pay for a podcast?
So this podcast would not be paid at all.
And also that subscription-based would not.
So that's for the,
It's just a spot, okay.
yeah, it's the packages.
The platform payout,
Yeah.
not anyone.
Yeah,
Correct.
1.3% is the Spotify payout for against 1.9 million
One-
listeners.
1 million,
impressions.
1 million to 2 million impressions.
Clicks,
Yes.
basically.
Clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've made it
Okay.
through 30 seconds of the podcast so that
Oh,
Spotify
wow.
will pay me.
Okay.
Right.
Got it,
Okay.
okay. That helped me, thank you.
Yeah. So podcasts and the podcast would be completely free. We would put it on YouTube. We would put it everywhere else. The forum is also something that would be free, right? So the idea is to kind of give enough value, so eventually people would want to, to
Thank
kind
you.
of get people subscribe.
I'll piggyback on Dan. This is really a nitpicky question, but if you go back to your financials, you talked about the total market of 1.6, but an earlier slide, you said the serviceable market was basically 750
That's correct.
million.
That's
So why are you using the 1.6 in your assumption if you've identified the serviceable market to be smaller than that?
That's correct. That's a good question. So again, this was based on we would want to reach everyone through the podcast. The one that I showed earlier, the size of our market, that was the serviceable, achievable market. That was, yeah, I can show it to you. Yeah, so serviceable, achievable market. So this particular slide here, this number right here, this we intend to service the paying customers we would have on our platform, right? That is the whole goal of this. But through the podcast, we would want to reach everyone. Yeah, that's how the financials are designed. But they are subject to change based on once we get traction and everything. So.
I have another question. You did an effective job of painting the picture of what it's like to work with, as a student experience, to work with your competitors, saying, I owe you in the future for yet to be determined outcomes, right? You're saying you as the student client for that. Can you speak to, along the lines then, a 2-month course, what does that look like? It seems long to me for a commitment for one student. So I'd love to hear how you've conceived of the offerings you would make to this that's attractive to the clients you're talking about.
Okay. 2 months, again, is the average course that average period of courses that I found online. There's sources, links in the business plan that could guide you there. But roughly it's 2 months is what I've uncovered from my research. How do I intend to make it attractive? I think the community proponent, the component of it would make it attractive, and also the fact that if it comes from somebody with experience, the empathy and the part that, okay, this person has been through this, so he knows what he's talking about, I think that would also play a major role in that sense. Because there's a lot of, already there's a lot of working individuals who have established their own courses. So there are these influencers who were once international students, they're working individuals, they're launching their own line of courses. So that creates a monopoly either way. So I want to, yeah.
Thanks. Cool. Any final,
I have a question, just probably more of a nuanced question. The way that I'm listening to it, and again, maybe listening to it a little bit more macro, international students is broad.
Right.
And there's a couple things that stand out. You know, you can go to any particular country and have really big differences culturally that as they come, just calling something international wouldn't be fair.
Right.
And or show kind of the diversity even within countries. So how would that be handled? It just feels like I'm really, as I'm listening to
Okay.
you, I'm projecting to a certain part of the globe,
Right.
and I'm thinking international a little bit more globally, and then how would you speak to that? And then my second piece in that nuance is that there's just class issues
Okay.
that I know are part of international, coming over here to have to be educated, and coming over here through a more of an immigrant refugee, but being able to be right there next to someone who's able to come over here to be straightly educated. You know, how does that balance with, as you're thinking about this as well?
Okay. Yeah. So if you look at my business plan, there is a section where I kind of there's a course on culture differences, and it depends on where you're from, right? So we talk about the goal of that is to kind of talk about the differences, right, from the cultures. So we would have somebody from the particular, let's say they're Asian, they're from China, or they're from India, or they're from, so they talk about the differences in culture in the US versus here. So they kind of help you assimilate all that.
And you believe that particular, yes, I agree with that, but you believe that particular will be able to speak to from Asian, which is large, to African, to I mean, they're, right?
Yeah, so
okay.
I would
How
separate.
do you pull those in, though, in the same way?
So I would separate by nationality, like based on where you're from. So just highlighting the differences, right? So for example, how is it for a Mexican, in their country versus how is it here, right? How is it there? How is it here for an Indian versus how is it generally for an Indian in India, right? So that highlighting those differences is the way I would.
Okay. And then class, do you have any? Is the
Okay.
class consideration within the racial, ethnic, international piece? So even within within any particular culture or ethnicity, there is a class,
Right.
and particularly gender
Okay.
issue. Is that handled at all within this at all, or is that part of the?
So about gender especially. So I believe.
Sure, depending on where
Okay.
opportunities
So-
around gender, depending on international students and how that's viewed, how
Mhm.
you walk into spaces.
Mhm.
I'm making it up, right, but a Pakistani woman may walk differently than a Pakistani man who
Yes.
both from Pakistan.
Yes. That's
Yes.
a great
In
question.
a classroom, right?
That's
Yes.
a great question. So to that, I think, I believe that what would happen in that case is, again, since we would have people from different states kind of highlighting those differences, any person who has kind of traveled from left their home country to come to the US, they're considered international, right? Now from there, we would kind of bifurcate on, okay, where are they from, right? And then highlighting those differences based on your nationality. Now, in terms of the way they walk and all that, I do not have an answer for you, unfortunately, but that's why. Yeah.
But I think what, Shannon, what you're getting at is is there any kind of allowance for gender, culture, economic class, somebody coming from a rural part of India compared to somebody coming from a more developed part of India,
Okay.
right? There's going to be some substantial differences in how
Right.
they look at life,
Right.
right? A Muslim woman in a hijab compared to a non-Muslim woman from the same part of the world, right, is going to need some more cultural sensitivity as compared to, and religious and what have you. So is there any kind of, hopefully I'm understanding your question.
Yes.
So, the question I guess is there any kind of allowance in your model for something like that, for those very, very particular differences within that city?
The intersectionality.
That's a great question. That is something that I didn't think of until you brought it up, but I think that's something that can be worked on.
Evolve.
Yeah, evolve eventually, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope I was picking up
That
what
was
you're putting down.
exactly, I was trying to get there, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. It's a great finish, isn't it?
I thought it was Peter, good. Sounds, so it was just you. Okay.
Under your feet.
Really, really proud.
Well, you probably hear it from his quiet.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think probably. When the time's right.
Stop, no? Okay. Wait 1 minute for our other judge to come back.
Turn it off? Okay, perfect.
Okay. Was that in the Main Street? What business? we will wrap it up with Candace and from fatherless to fearless. So let's give her a round of applause.
Some noise. Do you guys hear that? It's a little loud. Shh. Do you hear that? That's the noise of the media. Right now, there is so much going on when it comes to youth mental health. We're at a state of crisis. In fact, Governor DeWine was just on the news just a couple of weeks ago talking about suicide rates and what is happening within the state of Ohio. As you see right here on the screen, these are various different live news articles that focus on youth mental health, from Montgomery County to the state overall to the tri-state. And let's get into exactly what is happening right now in the marketplace. So Ohio is at a state of emergency. As you compare our overall statistics when it comes to youth mental health with Kentucky and even Indiana, we have even surpassed the average for the United States. We are at a state of crisis. And here are some things that are happening. One is that females, particularly, are reporting that they're more sad and more hopeless than males. In fact, 2 times they're reporting that, besides males. Then we have the 53% increase in deaths by suicides. We are hearing more and more suicides every day. 1 in 3 are consuming alcohol, trying to really drown out their problems, but we know what happens. Alcohol only lasts for a hot second. You have to take the next drink. And then the last one that is on the screen, we talk about high schoolers. 40% of them have that major diagnosis of depression. And we also see the influx of anxiety. This is a problem. But from Fatherless to Fearless, we are the solution. From Fatherless to Fearless was actually started in 2016 as a for-profit entity. I converted the organization in 2021 to a nonprofit to really be rooted in community. I started this organization from my own life story where my father left when I was 2 years old. I had the anger. I had the depression. I was consuming actual alcohol until my life hit rock bottom. Now I have journeyed to the healing side, and I actually help other girls to do the same. Our focus are 3 main pillars on which our program stands on, and that is mental health, emotional health, and financial health. And let me tell you about exactly how we do this to really get a really good picture of what From Fatherless to Fearless is all about. So we have our signature program, which is called Bridge. This Bridge program is offered in 2 separate time frames, 14-week program and an 8-week program. And it is really focused on their overall journey to freedom, to mental health. We start out, Bridge is the actual acronym, so we start out with banishing blame, and then we journey all the way to embracing your story. In fact, what we're trying to help them do is actually come out on the other side and then go get someone else to help them to journey to freedom as well. Here are our 3 separate, I will call them segments. The first one is in school. So we offer this Bridge program during the day, in school, in between math, social studies classes, etc. They have an advisory period, and during that period, we take over that class. Those students are recruited in our class through social workers, resource coordinators. Also, they are recruited by us in the lunchroom, actually. In addition, our second segment is juvenile jail. So we are right here for the state of Ohio in Montgomery County. We work hand in hand with juvenile court, and we are actually administering our 14-week program right there in the girls' juvenile jail. And then the third segment, I'm calling it other because it actually includes both high school students as well as adult women. So we work with high school programs that are after school, such as the Rec Center, where we have our 8-week Breach program there. In addition, we work with other institutions that have adult women. So it could be the Women's Centers of Ohio, which is a pregnancy center. Also, we worked with Lighthouse Youth and Family Services, and that is a homeless youth center nonprofit organization. So we have opportunities to work with various different organizations in addition to high schools that we've actually presently worked with. I want to make sure that we also highlight that we are a B2B2C model. We really focus on the organization and recruiting and selling to that organization. And then from there, we actually have the girls that are actually already being served with that organization. So those girls are seeded over to us. We do not formally recruit girls. We go to where the girls already are. Make sure that that is clear. Next, let's, uh-oh, I may have like broke this. Lord have mercy. Okay, let's talk about our unique advantages. There are 6 here. I really want to call out a few of them. One is that we are a rare organization and that we are innovative. And I want to tell you how we're rare. So what you see in the marketplace is a lot of times where they have the fatherless organizations, but they are focused on the boys. You also may see fatherless organizations that are focused on those who are 6 years old or under. We focus on those teen girls primarily. In fact, 95% of what we do is teen girls, 13 to 18 years old. That is where our uniqueness comes into play. When you try to Google organizations that are fatherless girls and they actually are focused on those teens, you only find a few of us in the whole entire United States. You can't find any others. So that's where our awareness comes to play and our innovation actually comes to play as well. With how we hire our staff, we have a history of fatherlessness within each of our staff members, specifically when they are doing programming. So whether their father has passed away, walked away, is in jail, or emotionally unavailable, our staff has experience with that, so that in turn, when they go into these classrooms, they can actually talk about their personal story. We are very person-to-person driven. These girls, they don't want anyone that talks to them and they don't have a firsthand experience of what they've been through. So those are the things that we offer and we bring to the table. In addition, the last one I will highlight here is our holistic approach that primarily focuses on the root. We know fatherlessness overall has many detrimental outcomes, right? They face more neglect and abuse. They're more likely to go to prison. They're more likely to commit crimes, consume alcohol, 7 times more likely to be pregnant as a teen. The list goes on and on. But the root of that is the fact that their parental system, their parents, there's a problem there, right? So how do we focus on things that they need to heal? And then eventually, of course, we hope, right, that it dissipates the symptoms over time. That's what our hope is. Okay, so here is our mission statement. Is to empower and equip women and girls with strained or absent father relationships. So we do both, and we don't have one without the other. We're empowering them, and we're equipping them. We empower them by giving them not only just rewards from an empowerment perspective, but we also help them with resilience. This right here, this is a picture up here where actually a realtor is talking to our girls about career opportunities because that was one of the careers that they were very interested in, empowering them that they can do that. You'll see at the top, we're actually getting ready to have one of the largest events we've ever put on, which is a mom and daughter conference. It's called Better Together. We're seeing a deterioration between the mother and daughter relationship. Because we know so much, we are right there in those classrooms, we have that direct relationship with these girls, we're able to see things that are happening and we can put a stop to some of those initiatives. And that means that Better Together Conference. You'll see that our keynote speaker is LaToya Luckett, who actually used to be a part of Destiny's Child, who's actually on TV today. Right? And she has agreed to come and was very thrilled to support this initiative where we are really trying to get the unity back to these mothers and daughters. In addition, the Equip side, that is that bridge program. You'll see there's a couple of girls with some Bingles items. We have partnered with Bingles, and they give out various different items for those who graduate. In addition, we are making sure that we reward these girls for what they do. We are very incentive driven, meaning that we give out gift cards every single week. There's snacks we give out every week. In addition, at the end, for those who graduate, we take them on a trip. They'll be going to Kings Island here next month. And we do that, and you know, grown-ups don't even want to focus on their mental health, let alone kids, right? And so incentivizing is definitely most important. So we play in 2 separate spaces when it comes to mental health. The first space is prevention, which is an action to keep people healthy. This is the place where we help them to prevent the outcome that society or overall statistics say that they will be, right? And I would highlight the high school fact, the fact that we're in high schools as that prevention, as well as other partner organizations, but they have minor behavioral challenges. It is optional whether or not they attend our program, and then they have that optional additional support, meaning that they can pursue counseling if they would like to, right? They can also pursue other opportunities like our events, et cetera, if they would like to. Those are all the optional aspects of it. Then we have intervention. And this is specifically back to the juvenile jail aspect, right? Where we already have seen some major challenges, behavior challenges, and they could go all the way up into murder, but they also get out. These girls get out, every one of them, by the age that they're 21 years old. And so they have access to society and to development, and so we come in there to say, you can do this, and this is how you do it. However, they have also support. So they are mandated to go to counseling. They are mandated to have a caseworker. Those different aspects play into how they go forward, right? Especially from what they have experienced in the past. But those are requirements for attendance. So if they do not attend our program, they are written up. There is a consequence for that as well. So let's talk about social emotional learning. I know this is a buzz term, but we definitely play into this space as well. And through our Bridge program specifically, we improve mental health. We definitely enhance academic performance. I like to make sure to talk about that because it is known statistically for us. We actually look at pre and post surveys when we have the Bridge program. In addition, we look at grades, pre-semester grades, post-semester grades, specifically for these high school students. And so when they graduate our program, as long as they graduate, they increase in attendance and they increase in grades. And that is evident and that's seen. And it's actually close to 100% of them do that. Emotional regulation. So we're always looking at how do they manage their emotions and why is that important to them? Helping them to increase their confidence, increase their self-worth, but managing their emotions, because often they just do something at the drop of a dime just because someone had something to say to them or something happened in a hallway. How do we increase their coping mechanisms that they are instantaneous? And not only the ones that you can go and write down or listen to music, but they have to have a change in mindset for initial reactions. So we work with them as well on that. And then the last one that I want to point out is resilience. Resilience. We want them to push past what society says that they are supposed to be and the fact that they are being ignored. We got to think about high school, right? There is a lot of just concentration on passing tests, right? And you can get lost in the number. And so these girls, we focus on them so that they are not lost in the number. I mean, there are girls in our classrooms now that have said, Miss Candace, you challenged me, so I'm not smoking weed anymore. Fantastic. You challenged me to go to school. I'm actually coming to school on time every day because before I wasn't getting consequences, but since you threatened to come see about me, I'm going to actually go to school and be on time now. Those are the types of relationships that we have that is more of a mentorship relationship, not just a program facilitator in a room, but that direct connection with the girls that we serve. So here I want to talk, actually I'm going to let Taikisha talk about her story and her testimonial. But before I go into it, I want to make sure that you guys know that Taikisha's dad was in prison. And that's where she actually ended up in jail as well. But she ended up in a program that could help her to exit the jail and she would be released. But as she went through our Bridge program, was very attentive, understood what she needed to do to graduate from that program, but also what she needed to do from a resilience perspective to succeed in life. So here's her testimonial. Uh-oh. I don't think it's working. There we go. So that was Taikisha really talking about, understanding forgiveness and the support that we provided, but also being someone that could help others along the way as well. So let's talk about funding and funding the future specifically. So currently our funding, we receive funding from donations, from grants, both private and government, as well as corporate sponsorships and direct revenue. So we do have some entities that pay us directly for our programming. That it does not include high schools, specifically because we're in Cincinnati high schools, and I'm not sure if you heard, but there's a $99 million deficit there in Cincinnati. So because of that challenge, we haven't received funding there, so we rely on grants for the high school cohorts that we do. So what we are looking to have to use the actual funding, the $10,000 prize for, specifically is number one is the $7,000 would be used for marketing and business development. We are a B2B2C, and so a lot of what we do is really going and pursuing those organizations to partner with them. And so we would love to have a UD student to help us with that business development as well as that marketing. And then the second part of the grant would be used for, the prize, would be used for grant writing. Grant writing for us, most of our funding right now, actually like 99% of that, is for Butler and Hamilton counties. And because of that, we want to make sure that we're expanding that funding so it covers Montgomery County, but we need help with doing that. So seeking out not only state-funded grants, but even government grants that could cover all of the region. Okay, as I conclude, I wanted to conclude with this statement. This is a statement that actually we recite every single time that we are in the Bridge program every single week. And this is our weekly affirmation. And I want everybody to be able to join in. So I'm going to count us in with the 1, 2, 3, because that's what I do every single time. We're going to count with the 1, 2, 3, and we're going to join in. Okay? Everybody ready? All right. 1, 2, 3. Today is the day I changed my life. My ears are open to hear what it is I need to hear. My eyes are open to see what it is I need to see. My mind is open to a new way of thinking. I open my heart for transformation. I am worthy. I am empowered. I am more than enough. That's right. You are worthy. You are empowered. You are more than enough. And how much I know you guys believe this. This is what we want the girls that we serve to believe. And after repeating that time and time again, week after week, trust me, they start believing what they're reading, even though they didn't believe it in the beginning. So thank you so much. I appreciate everyone here, and we hope that you select us as your organization of choice as we pursue to help more girls get to their next level.
I had a question. Earlier in your slide, I read that the concept is strained or absent relationships.
Yes.
Right? So speaking about the strained relationships, is there any kind of mechanism or process to work with the fathers? Because I'm a father of a 17-year-old daughter, and I think that I have a good relationship. I think, right?
Yeah.
But could I use that help? Absolutely. Because, we speak different languages.
Right.
So for that strained relationship, do you plan on working with the fathers?
Yeah, I think we could definitely work for the fathers. One thing that I do is I actually go speak at various different places. I was just in Oklahoma speaking at a fatherhood summit. petitioning fathers to do and to mend that relationship. We also help the girls who are not, they are in that space where their father's talking to them a little bit or they're falling through a little bit and really trying to help them to navigate that space and what that actually means. You know, forgiveness is a huge factor for us, especially since they're so angry. So how can we get past the anger emotion, get to forgiveness, and get to acceptance of what their father can actually provide to them? I think the biggest thing for them is that their expectations can be high, and maybe rightfully so, but if their father is not able to meet at that high level, they're only meeting at this level, they're going to get disappointed every time. I said there's an opportunity for us to do that further, but that's how we're doing it right now. Yeah.
Just kind of going back to the process of recruiting, particularly like in the lunchroom.
Sure.
And you mentioned it, dealing in high school, like I know for me, I was a new student. So like when they would offer opportunities to me, it was more like, oh, this is the last thing I want to go to because I just don't want to stand out. Like I just want to belong.
Yeah.
And especially because the lunchroom is such a vulnerable space.
Yes.
I just was curious on kind of what your recruiting methods are, the response to them, because there's so much sometimes anger behind the way you're feeling or misunderstanding, how you kind of treat that with that vulnerability.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So the way that we recruit in the lunchroom, actually, we don't even put From Fatherless to Fearless on there, right? Because we don't want this to be perceived as, you know, I'm without, so people, you know, that type of thing. How we recruit is actually through the Bridge program. So we tell them this is a Bridge program. We actually are in the inner city where the probability of these girls to be fatherless or have a father issue is much higher, which is why we're intentional about that. So we are recruiting from a wider pool there. And so most of the time when we actually get the girls from a lunchroom perspective, all of them are not having per se a fatherless problem, but they have some type of parental issue. But I will say 90% of them who we just go out and cast the net for have a fatherless issue, right? It's all about the entity that we're in, but we are actually doing it more in a general perspective. So we talk about the Bridge program, how it's a program to help you get to your next level. We're going to talk about these things, but it's not particularly getting down to the nitty gritty of fatherless. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Just a couple of questions. So a lot of this program talks about mental health.
Yeah.
What's your background in terms of being a mental health professional? Or and can you speak to the team's capacity in that manner?
Yeah, a couple of things. So one, I'm in my PhD for community care counseling with a focus in traumatology. Our team is actually trained in trauma. So they receive trauma certifications. They are not mental health professionals with degrees, et cetera. We do partner with a counseling team in order to extend that relationship. So if these girls would like to go to counseling, we actually seed them over there. These girls are hit with stigma. There's a stigma problem, especially with being minorities, but they've also, believe it or not, have been betrayed by counselors before. So they've tried counseling, and they've told me, no, we're not doing it anymore because of the fact that that counselor has went back and told their mother. And so now we have a trust issue. And so we have actually gotten some girls to go back to counseling, but we are still fighting not just the one stigma of the culture, but there's a double stigma out there that I wasn't aware of, but there is so much more. So we don't purposely put counselors in the rooms per se as like facilitators because they're not allowed to reveal their true story. They're only allowed to tell you certain things, and it has nothing to do with their personal journey. And so we need that personal journey within those classrooms, and it's not just medical. You know what I mean?
I was just wondering about, so if a crisis happens.
Yes.
In these situations,
Yes, for sure.
How do you respond to that? And then, because a lot of it was
Yeah.
mental health that you spoke about.
Sure. So we do respond to all crises that happen. So in the juvenile jail, they always have the support. There's always an additional person, which is an officer within there, but also at schools. The schools that we're at, they have additional officers as well, even counselors that are also there and social workers. So we always have additional support if a crisis ever happens, for sure.
I know you can't do all things in this, so I'm premising that with a couple questions I'm going to ask. You noted, and I looked again to make sure, but in your business plan where Black Americans, specifically Black girls, then become Black women, having kids, we have the highest proportionate rate of being fatherless.
Right.
For a myriad of reasons, not just because dad left, a myriad of reasons.
Yeah.
So that really quickly goes to poverty. You
Right. mentioned
mentioned poverty, but the focus is that you're fatherless versus that there's if a dad's not there. Could be a myriad of reasons.
Right.
And now here we are in poverty, which causes a lot of these things you just mentioned.
Right.
I heard the mental health connected to poverty. Certainly fatherless is one of those. Poverty. How is that? I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing that straightly, and I want you to speak to that.
Okay.
You're very focused on fatherless, which I appreciate,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of that poverty. If a girl grows up to know how to become stronger, but is still fatherless, it feels like a deficit kind of model we're trying to fix, and I'm struggling with that. So if you could talk to that. And then my second, and then I'll be done with this because I'm looking at time, is that we also see proportionately that our girls, when there's not men around, are more vulnerable to not only that poverty, but to the mental health, the sexual, the violence, the increase, the bullying, all of it.
Yeah.
And where I'm, again, kind of not seeing it is how do we, and look how Hamad said that, how do we activate the men in community
Yeah.
as more of a protection versus focusing on the girls to be stronger.
Right.
And so if you can speak to those.
Yeah,
things, I think.
so just in the fatherless aspect, they are 4 times more likely to live in poverty. So we actually provide financial education within the Bridge program. So that is one of our lessons specifically. I also think that irregardless of fatherlessness, just because we're in those high schools and we can recruit in the lunchroom fully, that we would actually pull in some of those who may not particularly have a fatherless issue, but they can have poverty issues just because of where we are in the inner city, right? Particularly. And then your second question, sorry, escaped my mind. Your second question
is activating.
Oh, fathers, sorry, men, just men.
Because in trying to, instead of fixing the girls to be
Yes.
stronger, more resilient, have more grit.
Yes, so we actually include men in our community events. So when we're taking them to Kings Island, we need men right? That's how we do that, right? We don't particularly put them in the Bridge classrooms because these girls are so bitter. I have asked them specifically, what is a man? What's the value of a man? And they've told me nothing. And this is not just one classroom, this is multiples. And so we're trying to get them to understand the value of a man, but then also place men around them when they have gone through the program. So developing them from that perspective, and then also them seeing the positivity of men. I think we can also do some other things when it comes to men in addition to having them at events. I think that's a possibility for us to do that. I protect the Bridge environment just because I don't want it to be, I see some danger there, right, with these girls, you know what I mean? And their understanding of men's value, and I see some danger there, so I don't do it that way, but I think there's always some opportunities. But yes, they definitely need to see positive men and what that actually looks like. We did a research study in which we have continued to do research. We're doing another market research study here, Hispanic market, actually taking off this month. But we did an African American research study in which these girls said that the value of a father is to come and drop off clothes and shoes and then leave. That's what they said that the value was, right? And so we're not starting at like level 1 here, right? We're starting at like negative 10. Like we're way behind. Yeah, and so there's a really huge problem, right, of what the understanding and the value is there. And so we want to really tap more into that market research space. There's not enough market research specifically about these girls where we can really tap into that, elevate that, and find out more about them, and so that we can be innovative on our solutions.
And then one other, it's not a question.
I know, but I didn't talk for one whole one. Okay, just wait. Okay.
30 seconds.
Go ahead.
Your competitors did not name any girl-specific programming, and I want you to look at that again.
My what?
Your competitors did not name girl-specific programming. I
Okay.
just want you to review that, because you do have competitors that are hyper-focused on girls only.
Okay.
That's only.
Okay.
I was gonna ask about your expansion to the Dayton area.
Yeah.
What is your capacity to be able to do that?
Good thing to think about.
Let it marinate.
All right.
That was Peter's question.
Oh, was it?
All right. Big applause. Big applause for our All right. How about a big round of applause for the nonprofit track, the judges, and the participants. Thank you so much. This is fantastic. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Judges, we're moving over to that room to deliberate. That's right. Just to get you moving one last time. It's so we don't capture your judging deliberations on camera. Thank you so much to participants. Confident y'all will be super successful in these endeavors and your other ones, and looking forward to seeing you on Thursday for the results. Thanks so much.
Thank you all for
Thank
sharing
you.
your ideas.